Good morning. A video showing the Jordanian pilot captured by the Islamic State extremist group in Syria being burned alive is released online. This following a week-long prisoner exchange debacle. Seoul and Beijing are to discuss security on the Korean peninsula, including the issue of Pyongyang's military capabilities. Experience our ever-evolving technology with Joey Albright as he visits the places in Seoul that has the latest. And nutritious and oh so good. You can have them raw, blanched, fried, or baked. We have oyster cuisine for the winter. On Korea Today, Wednesday, February 4th, 2015.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good morning. Thank you for joining us on our Wednesday edition of Korea Today. I'm Kim Young alongside Oh Jin-ju and Kim Min-jung.
Good morning. It seems that spring is just around the corner as today marks Ip-chun in Korea, the first of the 24 seasonal divisions, signaling the start of spring. And I've noticed that days have gotten longer these days.
And we, on this Ip-chun day, we have a tradition of posting up a sign that reads Ip-chun Daegil. And these people are writing that. Ip-chun Daegil means spring is here, so we wish each other good fortune and good luck. And there's the right way of doing this. You apparently have to post it up on your gate, on your doors at 58 minutes past noon.
So there's a certain time that actually that you do put it up. And is there a certain way to put it up? Like you have to use tape or you have to use mail, or are there some regulations on that?
Google that.
All right, well,
But you know, life is all about timing. So
that's right. That's right.
Get that time right.
All right.
Ip-chun time.
That's right. Spring is here, so and that comes right before the Lunar New Year holidays, so which means maybe we can look forward to a springy Lunar New Year holidays.
That's right. All right. We'll begin this Wednesday morning with a check of the headlines. A flurry of diplomatic efforts will take place today, and the topic of North Korea and its nuclear pursuit will likely take center stage. Seoul's Defense Minister Han Min-gu will sit down with his visiting Chinese counterpart Chang Wan-chuen on this Wednesday to discuss security situations on the Korean peninsula, including North Korea and its military capabilities. The two sides are expected to also touch upon establishing a bilateral defense hotline in addition to the hotlines set up for their navies and air forces since 2008. Minister Chang, who's on a 3-day trip, is Beijing's first defense chief in 9 years to visit South Korea. In the meantime, Seoul's chief nuclear delegate Hwang Jung-guk will arrive in Beijing today to meet with his Chinese counterpart Woo Da-wei to discuss reconvening the long-stalled six-party talks aimed at denuclearizing Pyongyang.
Following a series of tax and healthcare policy blunders resulting in public backlash and falling approval ratings, President Park Geun-hye called on officials to strengthen communication between the cabinet and her staff, emphasizing the need to bolster policy coordination.
새로 신설이 되는 정책 조정 협의회를 통해서 청와대와 내각 간의 사전 협의와 조율도 강화해 나가기를 바랍니다.
The president called on officials to clearly understand the policy's effects on the lives of the public through simulations and analyses before implementing the policies to root out any side effects. The comments come 2 days after the government's announcement of a plan to launch a joint consultative body to step up coordination between the cabinet and her presidential office.
With a growing number of people turning to their smartphones for shopping, the country's #1 e-commerce company Coupang says its mobile payment transactions more than doubled year-on-year in 2014. The social commerce website Coupang said Tuesday its mobile transactions reached 1.4 trillion won, or roughly $1.3 billion last year, making up for over 70% of the overall sales. Industry watchers are keeping an eye on the phenomenal growth of Coupang and whether the U.S.-based Korean company plans to go public, most likely in the NASDAQ. Statistics Korea says the transactions from mobile shopping in Korea stood at $13.5 billion in 2014, up a whopping 126% from the year before.
Now, foreign capital, especially from Japan and China, is rapidly increasing its influence in Korea's financial market in recent years. And today we're going to take a closer look at Japanese capital, how Japanese investors have acquired 1/5 of Korea's savings bank industry, and how they're now eyeing the country's securities firms and commercial banks as well. For more, we're now joined by Professor Yang Jun-seok from the Catholic University of Korea. Good morning, Professor Yang.
Morning.
So just how big are these Japanese players in Korea's financial market?
Well, as you just mentioned, they are about 19.8% of the Korean savings bank sector, which I think has a lot of people alarmed. Now, savings bank, even though they're named a bank, is actually part of the non-banking sector. There's been some controversy over the English title for that. But it's all a part of a pattern. Ever since the 1997 Asian financial crisis, Korea has opened up its financial markets. So not only Japan, but United States, Europe have been making inroads into the Korean financial markets. But I think people are nervous about Japan specifically for two reasons. One, they've been moving into small consumer loans where they charge high interest, more than 30% interest. And that has gotten a lot of attention because people think that they lend to poor people at a very unnecessarily high interest rate. Another factor is just traditional animosity between Korea and Japan. So people have been more nervous, I think, about Japan's entry. Now, Japan has been moving into these low consumer loans. You see those ads on cable TV in Korea all the time. But now I think because they've been so successful at it, they're moving into the savings bank sector, which is more formal financial institutions in Korea, so I think that has some people nervous.
So since when and how did Japanese capital come to hold such a significant influence in Korea's financial sector?
Well, as I mentioned, they moved into the small consumer loan sector, and they've been competing for customers with the savings banks. Savings banks in Korea have always been some problematic, but periodically they had some cash flow problems or liquidity problems, and the last time it happened in 2011 in some savings bank in Busan, there has been a lot of call for reform in that sector. Problem is the government would like the Korean stronger financial companies, including commercial banks, to take over these savings banks, but these commercial banks have not been very enthusiastic about taking them over. So I think that created room for Japanese capital to move into these companies because, well, Korea's been looking to strengthen these companies with additional capital, but they're not available within the Korean financial sector. Other foreign financial companies don't seem to really seem interested in it, so that just created room for Japan to maneuver. And the low interest rate that Japan has currently has been helping that because Japan can borrow funds in Japanese yen very cheaply from Japan and then bring it over to Korea and get high interest for it.
So as an economist, what do you think about this massive influx of Japanese capital into the domestic market? Would it do more harm than good or vice versa?
Okay, well, as a two-handed economist, the good point is there's a potential here for the savings bank sector to be strengthened with additional capital, which is what we wanted for the last 15 years or even longer. Savings bank has always been sort of an unshaky sector, so we really needed a lot of additional capital for that. Now, the other side of that is if these savings banks are not run very well, and if some of the Japanese capital firms that are coming in are shaky to begin with, and then the worst case scenario is that the Korean government, the Korean Bank of Korea and the insurance deposit institutions have to bail out these savings banks. So that's the worst scenario that we can imagine. So we will have to make sure that the companies which take over these savings banks have a good financial situation to begin with, and they can run these savings savings banks well.
So what kind of measures are the government putting in place to respond to this massive influx of Japanese capital?
Okay, right now I think they're more interested in strengthening the savings bank sector, so they're not particularly too alarmed at Japan taking these companies over particularly. But as part of the financial sector restructuring, financial sector regulatory reforms, Korea has been strengthening the supervision regulatory mechanism for the financial sector for some time. And since the last savings bank crisis in 2011, there has been a lot of additional mechanisms in place to make sure the savings banks are being run well. So as long as that is being applied to Japan, the Japanese investors, I don't foresee too many problems.
Are there any measures to encourage Korean companies to expand in the financial business? Because there are so many restrictions on Korean companies.
Well, that's the crucial thing. I mean, Japan and Korea, at least on paper, they have the same legal conditions that they have to satisfy. And in fact, people will argue that it will be easier for Koreans to come in because Koreans are more familiar with the market. But it's not the Koreans which are coming in, it's the Japanese. So we have to ask ourselves two questions. One, why Japan going into this niche market and not Koreans? And answer for that, I'm afraid, is not that clear yet. The other thing is savings banks are a very risky business because if the lenders have solid financial fundamentals, then they go to commercial banks to get a loan. So why are these small consumer loans, very risky loans, so popular in Korea? So we have to look at it from that demand side as well as why are the Japanese coming in from the supply side.
All right, Professor Yang, thank you for your insight this morning.
Thank you.
Good morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. Now, the chairman of the ruling SEOUL party warned against populist welfare policies, claiming that an expansion in welfare can only go hand in hand with tax hikes. Now, this issue is on all of the local papers today. We'll take a look at it on 조선일보, and it's the top headline. And it says, SEOUL party calls for sweeping changes in welfare restructuring. So Chairman Kim Moo-sung made related remarks in a speech marking the start of this month's extra parliamentary session yesterday, as critics have accused the government of deceiving the public with policies designed to collect more taxes. Now, if we go ahead and look at the sub-headlines, in his address to the National Assembly, he said that welfare without tax hikes is impossible, and it isn't right for a politician to deceive the public with such words. He added that the government must carry out an overall inspection of how the welfare budget is spent, and based on these results, tax hikes should be pursued when no alternative can be found after seeking the public's opinion. And moving on to 중앙일보, we'll take a look at this side headline. This one is about employment. And the headline says less than half of liberal arts majors at SKY find jobs. Now, SKY here refers to the top 3 local universities, Seoul National University, Korea University, and also Yonsei University. And it says here in the sub-headlines, it turns out that roughly 30% of those who finished school in 2014 with a degree in the humanities at these schools failed to get jobs, according to data collected by The Daily. Now, this is factoring out foreign students, the military recruits, and those who moved on to graduate programs. So you can just imagine that number would go up if we factor in those factors. And out of some 3,700 students who graduated from SKY last year, who majored in the humanities or social sciences, less than half, or about 45%, of those are currently employed. And in contrast to the dark prospects for liberal arts majors, data shows that the employment rates for science and engineering majors, regardless of which school that they are from, are much higher on a national scale. Now, going on to 동아일보, we'll take a look at this headline regarding the economic depression here in Korea. And the title reads, Economic Indicators Point to Spring While Actual Conditions Are Freezing. So this article stresses that the actual economic conditions that companies and households are feeling on a day-to-day basis are quite different from the economic indicators and business index let out by the government. Taking a look at this image here, the index is set here on the left while the reality or the actual conditions are written on the right. And for instance, in terms of consumer prices, if we take a look, the National Statistical Office said prices only rose by 0.8% this year compared to the same period last year, whereas in reality, various consumer prices have risen by much more than that. Meanwhile, when it comes to employment, indicators say there's been a 2.1% increase in the number of employed people, mostly belonging to the older generation compared to last year, whereas in reality, the employment rate for the youth sat at a mere 9%. Finally, we'll go ahead and look at the Korea Economic Daily for a wrap here. This one is regarding the sport golf. And it says there was no ban on playing golf. And these are the words of the president during tea time with her cabinet members before presiding over a cabinet meeting yesterday. Now, she asked that the sport of golf be vitalized and invigorated in the country, as the industry has been suffering in the recent years, especially as there seems to be an unstated consensus within the government that public officials should not play golf, which she says was never true. Now, that was a look at our local headlines this Wednesday. Now, following are the stock numbers from Tuesday.
So Jinju mentioned the afternoons are a little toastier, but I think mornings are still a bit chilly, no?
Yep, that's right. It is going to be cold if you're heading out in the morning, but we do hear that in time for Ipchun, or the beginning of spring, the temperatures will rise up. So we'll get a check on the weather with Chun Sung-cho. Good morning,
to you, Sung-cho.
Good morning, guys. Yes, it's officially the beginning of spring that we've been all longing for. And maybe because of that, even the temperatures are hovering just around -1 degree Celsius. But if you want to head outdoors today to welcome spring weather, you might want to think twice. The air conditions won't be that great, as a concentration of fine dust in the air will temporarily rise in the afternoon, raising the alert level to bad in the majority of the country. We have stagnant air under high pressure conditions, which means the winds will not be strong enough to push any bad air quality out of the peninsula. And on top of that, we have some unhealthy smog expected to blow along the northwesterly winds from China as well. So everyone is advised to reduce prolonged exertion outdoors today. And currently, it's quite already hazy here in Seoul under overcast skies. And with that, let's take a closer look at today's temperature readings around the nation. Midday highs are looking quite mild today, ranging from 4 to 8 degrees, with Seoul and Gangneung being the coldest and Daegu being the warmest. The southeastern regions are facing scattered drizzles of less than 5 millimeters this afternoon, and the eastern Gangwon province is expecting some snow tonight into next morning. This is all from me with the weather forecast. Back to the studio, Min-jung.
And new this morning, the Islamic State group has issued a new gruesome video showing the Jordanian pilot it held captive being burned alive. We'll connect with our Eunice Kim at the News Center. Good morning, Eunice.
Good morning.
Such a disturbing piece of news. A sad day, really, for Jordan. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, it is news that's being taken with great gravity in Jordan. Minjung, the king of Jordan, cut his trip to Washington short to return home to a grieving country, really, over the death of what they view as their hero pilot. Now, let's go ahead and begin by telling you what was shown in the latest media release by IS, though we won't be showing you the pictures itself that serve as propaganda for the extremist group. Now, the 22-minute-long video and still images were released just hours ago, earlier this morning here in Korea. It begins with a condemnation of Jordan's king for joining hands with the U.S. in its military coalition against the Islamic State. Now, it then shows the young Jordanian pilot, Muwath al-Qasasbeh, being beaten, or he was rather already beaten, and doused with some sort of liquid. He's in a cage, and then a stream of fire reaches him, eventually burning him alive. Now, soon after this media push, Jordan's military came out to say that al-Qasasbeh was actually killed a month ago on January 3rd, which was, of course, way before IS had offered a prisoner swap with Kenji Goto on January 24th.
Quite unbelievable. And this is a fast developing story, and already a number of strong condemnations have been issued against this latest killing. And maybe it's a little too early to even ask, but where does this put Jordan and its role in the fight against IS? Does it embolden Jordan, or do the opposite? Does it dissuade it?
Yeah, that's a great question, a question a lot of people will be asking. And of course, we will have to watch Jordan in the coming days and weeks, as it is a very important ally in the U.S.-led coalition. But what we do know for sure is that Jordan's reaction did come swiftly, as it promised an earth-shaking response. Let's hear what else they had to say.
Whoever was doubting that Jordan's response will be firm, tough and strong, we will show them the proof, and they will learn that the anger of Jordanians will shake their ranks. The martyr pilot does not belong to a specific tribe, and he is not a son of a specific governorate, but he is the son of all Jordanians being united as they have been throughout their history.
Jordan's media minister there, and King Abdullah, said the pilot's murder was an act of cowardly terror by a deviant group with no relation to Islam. In a recent release, world leaders also reacting swiftly, including U.S. President Obama, who condemned the murder in the strongest possible terms. Now, reports say Jordan's response will include the prompt execution of Iraqi militant Sajida al-Rishawi, as well as other IS-linked members held in Jordan's prisons. And Qasasbeh is the only pilot to have been captured by IS from the U.S.-led coalition to date.
We will keep an eye on this story for further developments. But in the meantime, we'll shift gears now and take a look at a developing story out of the UK Parliament. It has approved a medical procedure that would allow doctors to create babies using DNA from three parents. What is this all about?
Right. This was a procedure developed in response to mothers who could not bear a child due to their mitochondrial deficiencies. And what it would do is allow those mothers to have a baby and also stop the genetic disease from being passed on to that baby. Now, the measure was passed at the House of Commons Tuesday after heated debate and faces another vote at the House of Lords. But ahead of that vote, Health Minister Jane Ellison called the measure a bold but a considered and informed step. Critics, though, are saying that it crosses a fundamental ethical boundary and could lead to designer babies, as this procedure would use a modified version of in vitro fertilization. Now, a couple more facts on this. It takes about 0.1% of the donor mother's DNA, so it's not exactly 3 individuals there, and up to 2,500 women in the UK could be affected by this measure, according to estimates.
Two very controversial stories back to back. Thank you for covering those for us.
Absolutely.
And still ahead on Korea Today, watch your imagination become reality at venues that allow visitors to experience IT up close and personal. Plus, check out what's hot when it comes to all things new, high-tech gadgets out there. We will have all of those stories for you, so do stay with us.
There have been a growing number of Korean classical musicians that have been making waves in the international stage, and we're going to look at 2 of them who actually are doing something unique, and our Im Yoon-hee joins us with more of that. Good morning.
Good morning. That's absolutely right. So many musicians go abroad at a very young age to study music, and that's resulted in quite a large number of very accomplished Korean musicians, classical musicians who are young in their career with lots of talent to offer. So today I have a look at 2 of those musicians who are stirring up waters with their works. Take a look at this next report.
The sweet, sorrowful sounds of the violin, blended with the percussive accents of the classical guitar. The reputable guitar duo Lee Sung-woo and Oliver Fartash Naini have joined forces with one of Korea's leading young violinists, Shin Ji-ah. They've collaborated on the recently released album Canto Antigo, a collection of 16 Latin American folk pieces.
It's a chance for me to reflect through a variety of pieces. In particular, with this project, I heard echoes of the Korean cultural piece Arirang, and I grew fond of it.
The trio is set to play in Seoul this Valentine's Day. Another young classical musician taking the spotlight is pianist Im Hyun-jung. In 2011, she was the youngest pianist to undertake the complete cycle of Beethoven's piano sonatas, an accomplishment that put her front and center on the global classical music stage. The one-night-only performance includes works by Beethoven, Bach, and Rachmaninoff.
Let's first go to Im Hyun-jung, who seems to have lightning hands.
Amazing pianist, right?
That's right. She's so accomplished at a very young age. Now, you said in the beginning that there are a lot of Korean classical musicians, very young prospects who study abroad, right? Is Im Hyun-jung one of them?
So both of them did go abroad. So in particular, the pianist, a very interesting story behind her. So she moved to France at the age of 12. And she said while she was there, she wanted to show her progress to her parents. So she uploaded a video onto YouTube, and there she developed quite the following, a lot of fans who really enjoyed her work. And that seems like a familiar story these days with YouTube. But really she caught the attention of a lot of younger audiences, and she appealed to these younger people who are interested in learning about classical music. And so she made when she signed on with the record label, she topped charts, and she's doing very well. And she's actually only been performing in Korea since 2013, so this makes it a more special performance.
Well, so at first, these YouTube videos that she was putting up was part of efforts to show her parents her progress, but it seems like the general public got into that, right? Now let's go back to Shin Ji-ah. Now, when you think of the violin, you maybe hear about like a quartet or something, right? But this is kind of a unique performance, a classical guitar. They're usually standalone artists such as Andres Segovia, but this time around it's a combination of the two classical guitarists and one violinist.
And a violinist, you're absolutely right. So this has been called a rather unique collaboration, and the result, Shin has said she's very happy with it. She feels like the instruments do complement each other, and she also feels like this whole album, Canto Antigo, which took 6 years to put together, she said that it's a wonderful blend of very warm, very inviting music that you can check out at the concert, which takes place pretty soon.
Also a little bit of that Latin flair too, so.
Exactly.
All right, something to look forward to. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.
All right, and this is another thing to look forward to. We're going to be looking at some oyster dishes, and we have a chef who's going to be in the studio, and he's going to show us exactly how to do that. Now, oysters, you can bake them, you can have them raw, you could have them in many different ways, but they're full of nutrients, and they have that silky smooth texture. Oysters do the body good, so stay tuned for some healthy, tasty oyster dishes coming your way later on.
So So we did mention that today is Ipchun. Well, Jeju is also welcoming spring with a 3-day Ipchun-gut or Ipchun exorcism ritual festival.
And there will be various plays and performances taking place to mark the arrival of spring. Let's find out more with our Misorang, who joins us. Good morning, Misorang.
Good morning. That's right. The festival is a reenactment of shamanistic rituals that date back to when Jeju was still called Tamnaguk country. So, it was thought that Ipchun was a time when the 18,000 gods and goddesses of Jeju returned to the island from their break in the heavens. So people would pray to them for a bountiful harvest and prosperity in the year ahead. This year's festival began yesterday afternoon with ancestral rites for the gods of wealth and a procession down the main streets of Jeju. And for the next 2 days until Thursday, there'll be various plays, music, and dance performances as well. And for more information, you can check out the details at the website below. Meanwhile, the Korea Electro-Technology Research Institute uploaded or released a booklet that answers some common questions that we might have about batteries and their use. I've narrowed it down to 3, and I'm going to quiz you guys. So the first question, does temperature affect batteries?
Yes. Because I would notice it during winter, it just dies out faster, no?
That's right, and that's because, well, the answer, yes. That's because the chemical reactions that within the battery itself occur at a slower pace at lower temperatures, meaning that less current is produced. Now, this on the flip side, this also means that when you warm the seemingly flat battery up once again in your pocket or back to room temperature for 30 minutes, the battery will come back to life. Next question. Can you overcharge batteries?
No.
Yes, I think. I don't know.
Just having an answer there. The answer is no. Some people worry that you can damage your batteries by hooking it up to the wall for too long. But with a properly designed charger, with a proprietary charger, it's quite impossible to overcharge it. So it's okay to keep it plugged into the wall, even though it's 100%.
All the time, overnight, you know, just have it plugged in.
Even at the office.
And finally, should we fully discharge before recharging?
No.
A shot in the dark again, yes.
Yes. Any reason? Shot in the dark. Have you guys heard of battery reconditioning?
Reconditioning?
So it's you might well. Some people, they say, you know, you should fully discharge it to now and then to keep the battery in tip-top condition, to keep it at the full capacity. But that answer only applies to... That only applies to the older type of batteries, the nickel titanium batteries, which aren't really in much use anymore. The newer lithium-ion batteries, which are in widespread use, such as mobile handphone batteries, you can actually do more damage by letting it fully drain out. So it's best to keep at least, 1 to 2% alive.
Okay, so you can do anything with the battery without keeping it a little too cold. Maybe have it plugged in, have it fully charged, and
but never let it die out, which is what you do, Minjung.
Wow, thanks for that.
And wrapping up, parents and residents and teachers rallied together to prevent a slow dying school from closing out. So the Sojong Elementary School is located in the outskirts of Haenam-gun County in Jeollanam-do Province. At one point, it had upwards of 1,000 students, but much like other farming and fishing villages, families with young children kept moving away to bigger towns and cities, and by 2003, the school had only 5 students left. Determined to keep the school alive, parents, teachers, and local residents rallied together to actively promote the school, raising funds to purchase 2 school buses to attract students from neighboring towns and diversifying their extracurricular activities. Through these efforts, the students slowly began transferring in from larger schools, and they're now up to 80 students.
Wow.
If I were a student all over again, I'd choose a smaller school, but that's just me.
I mean, there's a lot of competition for the bigger, more sophisticated schools, but these smaller schools, they have values in their own right that only small schools can provide, such as closer interaction, one-on-one interaction with the teachers, and getting to play more outside, closer to the nature.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much, Misorang.
You're welcome.
And a good Wednesday morning to you all as we kick things off with the Korean national football team, where after months of no rest and just trying to prepare for the 2015 Asian Cup, head coach silky is finally set to get his well-deserved rest. Now, the 61-year-old who was named the national team head coach back in last September will leave to Spain next week and will rest for 3 weeks before returning to Korea in time for the start of the 2015 K-League season. And from there on, his busy schedule continues as he's set to focus on the domestic talents once again before a set of A matches in March, followed by the second stage of the World Cup qualification matches in June. And as head coach silky stated, the end of the Asian Cup is just the start of things to come. Now, there's the age-old question, would you rather be a big fish in a pond or a small fish in the ocean, right? Well, for Korea's Lee Chung-young, when the ocean is the English Premier League, you would rather be a small fish in the ocean. Now, the South Korean international, who was in England's second-tier championship league with the Bolton Wanderers, will return to the English Premier League once again as Crystal Palace purchased his contract just before the end of the January transfer window. Now, a win-win situation for both teams as Bolton sells the striker before his contract expires and Crystal Palace, who is currently in 13th place, gets the much-needed offense. Now, MLB.com had Pittsburgh Pirates Kang Jung-ho as the fourth biggest steal of this offseason after investing just $16 million on the former Nexan hero. Well, the steal is only as good as the numbers he's going to put up, right? Well, according to MLB.com, he's projected to hit .266 with 12 home runs while driving in 45 ribbies and even stealing 5 bases. And while many don't expect him to start off the new season as a starter, he's still ranked higher than Jordy Mercer in the 2015 shortstop ranking. Now, expectations remain high for Kang Jung-ho as he continues his training with the Nexan Heroes in Arizona. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
All right, now we've been looking at Seoul in many different angles, and this time we're going to take a look at some of the technology that's available, and it's on all the hot spots, and you're going to enjoy this. Joey Albright joins us with more on that. Good morning.
Good morning, Joey.
Good morning, good morning. And so I went to some very trendy places where you can witness and feel the fast trending technology. There you can experience a lot of, I got to learn about a lot of communications and information technology, as well as play with some of the gadgets and devices. So let's take a look at the places where I went. I am at the Digital Pavilion for a special IT experience. We're here at the Digital Pavilion located in Sangam. Here's a space where you can experience a ubiquitous environment through cutting-edge technology and futuristic lifestyles. Digital Pavilion opened up in 2008 within the Digital Media Center's Nuriru Dream Square. It's a state-of-the-art IT experience equipped with 31 various ubiquitous IT trial facilities and 3 themed halls: IT Innovation Hall, IT Exploration Hall, and IT Imagination Hall. You can see also various robots like the ones that play music, can dance, and robots you can even control remotely.
Were you that robot?
Yes. Well, by choosing the head or body of the tail of the digital fish, you can create your own digital
So
creature.
the fish appeared in the pond after I made it on the display screen.
After putting a name tag on, you can enjoy watching your own digital fish swimming around in the pond. It was kind of
That is cool. Just need a digital fishing rod to fish them back.
Exactly. Digital Melody allows you to play digital music using IT technology and sensors. What is this? Oh.
Digital art.
I'm holding on to nothing, but it makes sound. You can play the harp like a pro by touching the harp bottle. It's kind of neat.
You look the part.
Well, you know. This is the live screen sketchbook experience where you can see the animals in the forest come alive on the screen. The animals you draw come to life on a 3-sided giant wall screen where the video system and motion sensor technology come together. It's really unique.
kids would absolutely love that experience.
Okay, so
Without
you
a
color
sketchbook
that.
or crayons, I can draw anything I want with just one finger.
Wow.
Anyone
Okay.
can easily and simply draw the animal that they're thinking of. It's really unique.
That's like
I'm
Korea
gonna send the
today.
elephant into the wild.
And you send it into the wild.
It was indeed a special experience to see the animals come to life on the large screen wall and interact with them. It's like seeing my imagination become reality.
I think there is quite a lot to do and enjoy here, especially with the kids.
You can experience ubiquitous IT along Gangnam-daedo Road in Seoul.
Gangnam-daedo, right? That's the main street of Gangnam-gu district.
Yeah, the media pole is a 12-meter tall integrated IT street structure. A total of 22 such poles are installed along a 760-meter long section of the street between Gangnam and Gyeobu Tower.
As you can see, these aren't simply street installations, but public facilities with high-tech services.
It is equipped with a touch screen kiosk function and search functions. So you can look up up-to-date information, information on books, real-time traffic, and also discount coupons. You can also download the coupons for the media polls through the mobile phones or QR codes. And you can take photos with the built-in camera and play games.
Problem is, how do you get the guy in front of you to leave so you can use it?
I wouldn't recommend pushing them. I took some photos for fun as well. You can email those photos right away. It's
Wow.
a great way to kill some time when you're waiting for a friend or the bus.
Oh, wow. So people can walk by and actually press like if they like the photo.
Huh.
I visited Samsung Delight next, located within the Samsung Electronics office
A
building.
variety of digital content through Samsung's latest IT products and newest tech can be experienced here.
At the Mobile Plaza, you can try over 100 of the latest electronic devices. In the Global Gallery, you can learn about the principles behind cutting-edge technology. And on the lower level, you can find a Delight shop where you can see, touch, feel, and even buy some 900 IT devices, products, accessories. In the semiconductor rider, which resembles an elevator, you can get a virtual tour of the inside of a semiconductor. 30 large displays cover the 5 sides with 3D videos and exploring the insides of the semiconductors within various products through the screen.
Wow.
Makes you feel like you're on a amusement park ride.
Did you get dizzy? I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's a 4D experience almost.
That was really cool. It's like a 4D image graphic showing what's going on in the computer. I've never seen anything like it. Amazing. Designed to light up the semiconductor chip, when you touch the LED on either side, the lights move around and play the LED drum. You can also see various products that boast Samsung's technological prowess, such as the world's largest 105-inch ultra-high definition curved TV and digital cameras. At the Pick Zone, you can try out the latest IT devices and make videos and images. It's fun to upload the pictures onto the large capture wall. First, you use the camera on the touchscreen and send the picture to the picture wall.
So after I take the photo here, it gets sent immediately to the wall, as you can see, and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Look at that.
At the text zone, messages are typed and Note PC floats on the LED screen on the floor. When you stand on the pedestal in the middle of the message floor, the display shows an image that overlaps reality with a virtual scene.
Wow.
You can pretend to be a movie star, you can play fun games. The augmented reality experience is quite popular.
It's like a nerd's paradise. It's it has all the technology, all the TVs, and any person that loves technology would like to see. For example, like Ultra K, the 4K displays. They're freaking awesome.
48 displays let you enjoy a realistic image and get a feel for the advanced Samsung. Today I got this experience and see firsthand amazing IT creations and trendy products that I never could have dreamed of. Truly amazing.
So lots of things to do and try at this Samsung Delight place. I'm not a tech junkie myself, but I think even I would have a lot of fun there. What are some of the programs that you can take part in?
Well, there's the IT Vision Trip, which is an educational program where participants can learn more about semiconductors, eco-friendly technology, and even other various related things. There's also a cultural program that provides some performances and screenings, and you can learn more about those through the information on the website.
Okay, now the digital pavilion, it has to be a hit with the kids, the teenagers. I think it'll be a huge hit with me. I think it's fabulous.
Yeah, well, of course, it's become a popular venue for IT experiences. It's one of those places that Seoul National Education has designated as a field experience place to go to, so you send your kids on a field trip sort of thing. One thing that's really unique is they have ICT experience classes, so you can build a robot, and you can also take part in a Da Vinci Science Air class, and you can find out more information about those and book reservations for those online as well on the website.
And we saw the Samsung Delight Experience Center, and I also heard that SK Telecom has also set up a technology experience center in downtown Seoul.
Exactly, but it's kind of weird because it's pronounced as TUM. It's like TUM, but it says TUM, I don't know why. It is located within the SK Telecom office building and is a mobile technology experience center that brings together state-of-the-art IT tech and mobile telecommunication service. There you can also experience the future of the evolving communication industry. Another place is the LG Science Hall, where you can learn about the ultra-modern technology through fun and interesting experiences. Various exhibits and educational materials can be found in the Digital Hall Network, the Digital Information Hall, Energy Hall, and others, where you can understand just by looking at it and just going and experiencing it. So it's kind of unique.
You know, our Young is a certified tech junkie, so you know where to find him this weekend.
All right, I'll be using a lot of electricity this weekend.
Playing the harp also. All right, thank you so much, Joey.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. They're nutritious and loved by many around the world, and you can have them raw. I personally like them raw, but today we're going to have them cooked. And our Jean-Paul Perez actually joins us today after a long hiatus. Good morning, nice haircut, love it.
Thank you.
All right, so oysters. Let's just get right to it. So we have these oysters. They're very nutritious and they're very good for you, right?
Yes. They are very nice, and especially it's winter, so it's the perfect season to have oyster. So today we're going to have two dishes made with oyster. One is radish and oyster rice, and one is a canapé oyster.
Okay, so canapé, we're going to use cabbage with that as well, so we're going to put that together. But let's talk a little bit about the rice. Now, rice is ubiquitous with many different dishes. We use rice as pretty much the main dish, but at the same time, we do have all the side dishes that cater to it, right?
Exactly. But today we're going to have one pot of rice mixed with vegetables and the oyster. So it's a great combination together, especially with the radish and the oyster.
Okay, I figure the rice will take a little bit longer to prepare.
Yeah, so we're going to start with this, basically.
All right, let's begin.
Okay, so what we want is, we want some rice that have been soaked in water, at least half an hour. This is very important. And we have a little bit of stock. The stock is either beef stock, or it will be anchovy stock.
Okay. So it depends on your preference. And this is not your everyday rice, basically, so we're using a different stock there. So it's going to be a little bit more nutritious, right?
Yes. So we're going to put it rice first. And normally, what you do is, the proportion is 1-on-1.
1-on-1?
Yes. So you have 1 measure of rice, 1 measure of stock. Here it is. What I do is always wash the rice 2 or 3 times, and I like to keep the last water together a little bit because it gives a little bit more of rice flavor to it.
Okay, so 1-to-1 ratio.
Yes.
I always wondered about the ratio. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio, and you have
Yes.
just maybe about 2 centimeters of the stock.
What you
over
can
the
do
rice.
is you put your hand flat on the rice, and what happens is as soon as the liquid reach
Your knuckles.
Yes, this is when you stop normally.
Okay.
And you have a perfect rice. For the radish, normally you can have like nice julienne, very thin one, but I like it a bit more chunky, so I make quite a large one. And I start to cook them straight away, put them straight away.
Okay, and once the radish cooks, it becomes very soft, so
Exactly.
the size isn't really a factor.
Exactly. And what happens is like it will bring more flavor of the radish.
Okay, sounds great.
So what you do is you put it like this, you bring it to boil. When it's boiling, you bring it on a medium fire.
Okay.
Meanwhile, this is starting and cooking. We're going to go for the canapé.
Okay, so this is the oyster cabbage canapé.
So what we're going to prepare first, it's the minari, where very nice herbs that you use normally as a banchan on a side dish when you mix with the soy sauce.
Yeah, stuff is really good even just with chogochujang or some of the red pepper paste.
So we take this that we don't want. And you want to slice, but not very thin. You want chunky.
Okay.
A little bit more.
So you use all the stems basically?
Yes.
Not just the leaves?
Exactly. So you can keep the leaves only for example, for the decoration if you want, or you mix it together. So here we got the gochujang.
The red pepper paste?
Exactly.
In its purest form?
You can use normally green plum syrup, or you can use sugar, or in this case, for this morning, I'm going to have honey.
Okay, so something to sweeten it up, about a teaspoon of that, right?
Yes.
Or a tablespoon.
Normally the ratio is you will put like 1 tablespoon of gochujang, 1 teaspoon, half a teaspoon of honey.
Okay.
But I love gochujang, so I already put like 2 to 3 spoons. Okay. So then we have a little bit of soy sauce. The ratio for the soy sauce, again, it can be just half a teaspoon of soy sauce.
Okay. So this is basically the seasoning for this?
Yes. What I do often for me, it's I just add a little bit of sea salt.
Yeah.
Natural sea salt.
Okay, so that completes the flavor, right?
Yes. And then just a lemon juice. So just squeeze your lemon. That's fine. And that will give a little bit of sourness.
Okay, and do you mix this now? Is this ready to go? I'll just go ahead and mix it.
Very good. And what we're going to do, we're going to mix it with the minari. Just a minute.
Oh, okay. And then we put it in there, okay.
Yes. We put it directly. Everything goes together. And this is going to be the base for dish. Okay, I'm going to cut a little bit more.
Okay.
A little bit.
Let's just go ahead and speed things up a little bit. I'm kind of hungry, Jean-Paul.
No problem.
Yeah. I'm always hungry.
I know that. I remember.
Yeah. I was always hungry then. I'm always hungry now.
You still.
Yeah.
So now we have, if you want to help me, what you can do, we're going to clean a little bit. And you're going to start to put just half a teaspoon on this cabbage.
Okay, half a teaspoon, like.
Go a little bit more.
Is that good?
Yes.
All right.
More of it.
More?
You need like nice seasoning.
This is very saucy. All right. Okay,
Like
you do
this. So, sorry, in France, when we say a little bit, in France, when we say a little bit, it needs to be
a lot.
Full. Yes.
Next time you say a lot.
Be generous. Be generous. So, when you take your oyster, be careful, you put your oyster on it.
Oh, so we're having it raw?
Yes.
Okay, this is raw.
This is raw, this is raw.
Oh.
And the only time we will cook the oyster will be with the rice. So this is a very easy recipe to do. You do like this.
And that's it. It's simple.
It's very, very simple.
Even I could do this at home.
Exactly. And the ingredients are so easy as well to find. Any supermarket will have these ingredients.
And look how the cabbage, it looked kind of plain with just the cabbage and the condiments in the middle. But when you look at what the gochujang does, this seasoning sauce that we made does, it just adds so much color, and it looks beautiful.
Okay.
Okay, we don't have that much time left, so we're gonna have to go ahead and put those oysters there.
No
and
problem.
then, you know, the rice didn't really have that much time to cook, but normally it would take
we
about a
already
good...
prepare everything.
There it is,
in
that's the
advance.
way it goes.
The only thing I will do is I will show you how the oyster canapé goes.
Oh, and is that ginger?
No, it is a lemon zest.
Oh, lemon zest, okay.
Lemon zest.
I'll just come over here and try some of this stuff.
And this one.
All right.
We're excited. You know, oysters are called the milk of the ocean. It's so good. And it's high in protein, good protein. We're excited. It's good for women, apparently.
The oysters are so big.
Hi, hello there, Chef.
Good morning. And especially if you have a Tongyang oyster or Osu oyster, they are very traditional from Korea, and they are very, very nice oyster. So this is the way you want to have it, with a little bit of, a bit of chili on top.
Wow, it's so colorful. It's so beautiful. It is a great party dish.
And then you want to go ahead and spray the lemon on there too?
No, you don't have to, but if you want, you can.
Okay.
No, it looks like a flower.
Well, how about a taste test? Let's let our viewers see that. And
this would be very easy to prepare and delicious to eat raw.
All right, Jean Paul, that just looks fabulous. And now it's just time for the taste test, ladies.
All right, let's just sprinkle a bit of lemon there. Is this okay?
Yes, it's fine.
Am I ruining your dish? All right. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna put this. I don't think I'll be able to put all of that in my mouth. You weren't kidding about the small portion. That's a lot of gochujang there. How is it, Yang? I know you like it raw.
But with the lemon juice, it's very digestible as well.
All right, we'll have to wrap up the show for now. Thank you so much, Chef, for that. All right, well, that's just about this for this edition of Korea Today. Since Young can't talk, we'll have to wrap up the show.
We'll be back at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
So good.